is a question that those who truly know Miami sometimes ask out loud and sometimes only to themselves. Is Miami an American city or a Latin American city that by geographical accident ended up inside the United States? The answer, depending on who you ask and which neighborhood you are standing in when you ask, can be very different. But what nobody disputes is that Miami is a unique city in the world. A city that speaks two languages with the same naturalness, that has two cultures that do not fully blend but that do not ignore each other either, that has the rhythm of the Caribbean and the infrastructure of a modern American metropolis, that has the energy of a city in permanent construction of itself. Spanish in Miami is not the language of immigrants adapting. It is one of the two de facto official languages of the city, the one heard in the businesses of the Little Havana neighborhood, in the restaurants of Brickell, in the markets of Hialeah, on the beaches of Miami Beach. There are entire areas of the city where you can spend days without needing English for anything. And that, in the context of a World Cup with supporters from all over Latin America and the Spanish-speaking world, turns Miami into something completely special. The stadium where matches are played is Hard Rock Stadium, located in Miami Gardens, north of the Miami area, about 20 kilometers from the city center. Hard Rock is the home of the Miami Dolphins NFL team and has also hosted 4 Super Bowls, the Miami Open Tennis Tournament, and the Miami Formula One Grand Prix. For the World Cup, it receives the official name Miami Stadium, though any supporter who has been there keeps calling it by its real name. It holds more than 65,000 people, and in recent years has gone through a significant renovation that turned it into one of the most modern and best-equipped stadiums in the United States, and the matches played there are, without any exaggeration, some of the most attractive of the entire tournament. On June 15th, Saudi Arabia against Uruguay. On June 21st, Uruguay against Cape Verde. On June 24th, Scotland against Brazil. On June 27th, Colombia against Portugal. On July 3rd, the Group J winner against the Group H runner-up. On July 11th, quarterfinal number 3. And on July 18th, the third-place match. Sky Sports. Let us stop on those matches for a moment because they deserve individual attention. Brazil against Scotland on June 24th. Brazil, the most popular national team in the world, the team of Samba and Jogo Bonito, the one with more world titles than any other country, playing in Miami, the most Brazilian city in the United States outside the stadiums. The Brazilian community in Miami is enormous and passionate. And when Brazil plays at Hard Rock, the stadium is painted green and yellow in a way no other team can replicate. Colombia against Portugal on June 27th is another match that deserves the trip on its own. For Colombia, it will mark a return to the stadium where they lost the 2024 Copa America final amid chaotic scenes. Sky Sports Colombian supporters, who are some of the loudest and most colourful in the world, are going to arrive in Miami with unfinished business with that stadium and with that particular energy of those who want to rewrite a story. And then there is the third-place match on July 18th, which is often underestimated but which is actually a match between 2 World Cup semi-finalists, meaning 2 of the 4 best teams in the tournament, playing in a packed stadium in a city that by that point has been in World Cup mode for more than a month. Miami closes the American tournament. It is the last city that bids farewell to the World Cup before the grand final is played in New York. For getting to Hard Rock Stadium, the transport situation in Miami is similar to Dallas and Los Angeles. The city is designed with the car in mind, and public transport has limitations. Miami's metro rail system has a line that reaches the Metrobus area, and from various downtown points there are special shuttle services on match days. But the most used options are going to be Uber, Lyft, and rental car. A logistical advantage Miami has over other host cities is that traffic, though it exists and can be intense at peak times, does not have the overwhelming scale of Los Angeles or New York. If you leave an hour and a half early from any point in the Miami area, you reach the stadium without drama. For accommodation, Miami has a particular geography that makes the choice of neighborhood almost more important than the choice of hotel. Miami is not a compact city where everything is close to everything. It is a collection of zones with completely different personalities separated by water, bridges, and freeways. The first question is, do you want to be in Miami Beach or in mainland Miami? Miami Beach, the artificial island connected to the mainland by several bridges, is the Miami that everyone knows from films and photos. The Art Deco district of South Beach, with its pastel-colored buildings and its palm trees, and its Ocean Drive seafront promenade, is one of the most photographed settings on the planet. Hotels there range from absolute luxury to affordable hostels, and the beach is literally steps from any accommodation. If you want the maximum Miami experience, South Beach is where you need to be. The disadvantage is that getting to the stadium from Miami Beach requires crossing to the mainland and then driving north, which can add time on match days. The Brickell neighborhood, on the mainland, is the most modern and most cosmopolitan Miami. Glass skyscrapers, restaurants at every level, rooftop bars with views of the skyline, an energy of international financial city that contrasts fascinatingly with Beach Miami. Brickell is better connected to the stadium and has hotels in every category. It is the most practical option for those who want logistical comfort without losing urban atmosphere. The Wynwood neighborhood is the coolest in Miami right now. An industrial district converted into the largest open-air street art museum in the world, where every wall of every building is a mural painted by artists from all over the world. Wynwood has the best concentration of innovative restaurants, emerging art galleries, and concept bars in the city. During the World Cup, it is going to be the neighborhood where the youngest and most creative supporters of the tournament gather, and the nighttime energy there is going to be extraordinary. But if you want to experience the most authentic Miami, the one that does not appear in tourist brochures but is the real heart of the city, you have to go to Little Havana. Miami's Cuban neighborhood, concentrated mainly on Calle Ocho, Southwest 8th Street, is one of the most vibrant ethnic neighborhoods in the United States. The dominoes played at Maximo Gomez Park, popularly known as Domino Park, with Cuban elders who have spent decades betting tiles under the trees while arguing about politics and baseball. The Ventanitas, the small Cuban coffee windows on street corners, where for less than $2 you are served a colado or a cortadito that is exactly what the body needs at any hour of the day. The Cuban food restaurants where ropa vieja and arroz con pollo and black beans are served in portions that could feed an entire team. Little Havana during the World Cup, with supporters from Uruguay and Colombia and Portugal mixed with the Cuban Americans who have spent decades building that neighborhood, is going to be one of the most extraordinary human spectacles of the tournament. Wynwood Walls is the mandatory artistic destination. The open-air mural complex that occupies several blocks of the Wynwood neighborhood is one of the most important urban art installations in the world. What began as a project by gallerist Tony Goldman to revitalize a decaying industrial neighborhood became a cultural phenomenon that attracts world-class artists. Walking those streets and seeing the murals of Shepard Fairey, Os Gemios, Swoon, and dozens of other artists who have left their mark on those walls is an experience that combines the scale of monumental art with the intimacy of standing in front of the work with no barrier between you and it. The Vizcaya Museum and Gardens is Miami's best-kept secret. An Italian villa built in the early 20th century by industrial magnate James Deering on Biscayne Bay, with formal gardens inspired by Venetian gardens and a collection of European art that should not exist in Miami, but does and is splendid. Going to Vizcaya is leaving Miami completely and entering another temporal and aesthetic dimension that leaves completely disconcerted anyone who visits it without having seen it before. Admission costs around $20 and is worth every cent. Miami Beach itself deserves its own paragraph, even if it seems obvious to mention it. 12 kilometers of white sand and turquoise Atlantic that in the summer of 2026 are going to be full of supporters from Brazil, Uruguay, Colombia, and Portugal sunbathing, playing football on the sand, drinking caipirinhas and caipioscas at the beach bars, and living that combination of vacation and World Cup. That is exactly what makes Miami the most hedonistic and most festive host city of the entire tournament. The beach in Miami does not close. It operates day and night. And Miami beach culture, that particular way of being in public space that mixes exhibitionism and relaxation and music and food in proportions no other beach in the world handles in the same way, is in itself one of the most entertaining spectacles tourism can offer. One more thing that defines Miami in the context of the World Cup, and cannot be ignored: the heat. Miami in June and July is hot in a way that those coming from Europe or the temperate zones of South America do not always anticipate. It is not just the temperature, which can exceed 35 degrees Celsius. It is the humidity, which turns every degree into something that feels like 3. FIFA took note of this and scheduled most of Miami's matches at 6 in the evening to minimize the impact of heat on both players and supporters. Sky Sports. The practical advice is simple: constant hydration, sunscreen for any outdoor activity during the day, and a full embrace of the air conditioning that in Miami functions everywhere with an intensity that sometimes seems excessive, but in July turns out to be completely justified. Miami does not need the World Cup to be exciting. It already is, every day in any season of the year. But the World Cup is going to give it something no other tournament city has in the same way: the chance to welcome the supporters of Brazil, Uruguay, Colombia and Portugal in a city that speaks their language, understands their culture, eats their food, and dances their music. In Miami, Latin American supporters are not going to feel like they are visiting a foreign country. They are going to feel like the World Cup is being played at home. Welcome to World Cup Miami. Welcome to the hottest, loudest, and most Latin host city of the entire tournament.